Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our cozy fireside chat. I'm Jennifer Webb from Swisscom Ventures, and this is...
Michael Waldner from Pexapark.
Great. So, Michael, tell us more about your background and what Pexapark does.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jenny. So I basically spent 20 years in the energy industry, the first 15 years in energy trading, where also closed kind of 15 years ago the first PPA, power purchase agreement, for the ones that are familiar with the market. At that time, I think the term PPA was more associated with the Professional Photographer Association. Now I think it's a important term for the energy transition and how the market evolves. And co-founded Pexapark 6 years ago, 2017. And yeah, great to be here.
Wow. So the first PPA transaction in Europe was one of yours?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Nice. Great. Well, we'll learn more about that in a moment. But just so you don't wonder who I am, as I mentioned, Swisscom Ventures, we're a generalist B2B investor. We're active from seed through to Series C and beyond, investing here in Switzerland, also internationally. What gets us most excited is companies with a technology edge, and we'll hear more about that with Michael in a second. But yeah, I guess what drives me is more those companies and founders driving also those companies which are delivering the cleaner and greener economy. So yeah, with that, let's dive into it. I think the audience would have been living under a stone recently if they hadn't heard about the impact of interest rates and inflation on the renewable sector. So can you give us your take on the market today?
Yeah, I think it's indeed, I think times have changed for infrastructure investing. So kind of with the increased interest rates, obviously like the previous game, I think for infrastructure investing into renewable energy was like a slightly tick up from the 0% interest rates that are in the market, so kind of a risk-free investment. And now obviously that is being challenged with governmental bonds at, I don't know, 5%, kind of that infrastructure investors into renewable energy have been or are competing now with. On top of that, there is also supply chain challenges, so where the equipment becomes more expensive. I think that's actually not the trend that we have seen for the last decades, where kind of the equipment costs always scaled and became more cheaper. And then we also have now a market where the energy prices did fall, or kind of coming from a very high level the last year down. So I think investors are just quite challenged at the moment. But I also would see it as kind of a temporary situation where kind of like the fundamentals, obviously for renewable energy, that's very much intact. So we all have the mobile devices, we all are very fancy with the AI and kind of the new technology that is provided to the market. Extremely energy hungry technology, so data centers, computation power, and so just in general like electricity demand, I think from the fundamental part will definitely increase over the next decades. And I think the decarbonization is still strong with corporates. So kind of very much wanting to make the renewable energy transition work.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, many people in this room will want to see the massive build-out of renewables over the next 7, 10, 20 years. So it's troubling to hear that some of the players are struggling. But what, in your view, do they need to do in order to advance? And how does Pexapark sort of drive that?
Yeah. So I think, as we just discussed before, so kind of like with the interest rates and so forth, so kind of the market just became a bit more complex. And it's also true kind of like that the previous part of renewable energy investments had been all backed by government with feed-in tariff subsidies. I think actually there was more financial investment, and investors were not really exposed to the electricity market, to a very highly volatile market. And now that has changed. So kind of like investors are exposed to the energy market. I think they are now challenged with high interest rates. So a lot of things coming together at the same time. And I think in complex situations, obviously, it pays off to just build up more sophistication. That is exactly where Pexapark we come in. So we come from the energy side. Our mission is to make energy markets, renewable energy markets, more efficient and provide the capabilities for actually the whole market to take up on that. So of course, like there's a focus on the IPPs funds that invest into renewable energy to provide them with the capabilities, so kind of risk management, portfolio construction of the investments, the toolings, but there's also kind of a need of the wider industry to take up. And so on Pexapark, I think one element which we believe like is a key enabler for the industry, that's very much the price transparency of renewable energy. If you think back again with like feed-in tariffs and with just governmental support, it's actually the electricity market was not relevant, and now kind of all the investment, the business cases, if you invest into wind farms, solar asset, business cases are calculated up to 40 years. There is no hedge against kind of that energy anymore, so kind of like and then the PPA comes in place, this power purchase agreement, that's maybe a 10-year hedge, but there's still 30 years of open exposure to an electricity market. What's actually the fair price of that electricity? What is the fair price of these contracts? And that's exactly what we provide. So we provide price reference to the market, so for players, for developers, investors, for utilities, oil majors, corporates, to say, okay, that is actually a fair price for the electricity they want to transact, and in that case, making the market more efficient. And an efficient market obviously then also sparks more comfort for investors into renewable energy, since kind of they say, okay, there's not so much uncertainty attached to the market, and that's kind of like then really helping the market to pick up and accelerate kind of the new investments for the energy transition.
Amazing. So you're really helping the industry mature. And so you mentioned that you provide price transparency data and then also the risk management, profitability management software to the industry. So that's super exciting. And what I'd like to ask is sort of, given that that 2023 has been a pretty tough year, and I think a lot of people in the room might be happy to see the back of it. You actually managed to raise your 20 million Series C that closed over the summer with Telstra Ventures, with A&G, and with ourselves. What's your kind of outlook, focus for next year and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, obviously, we are super happy that we were able to close the round. I think also with Swisscom Ventures, I think a very good partner. And the outlook for us on Pexapark is kind of to further build like the European business that we are active. So kind of we are active across Europe in 19 markets where we provide our services. We have a bit more than 100 Pexans that are every day kind of working on the energy transition, and then we also have global ambitions, kind of the software and the price services that we have built. It's not only valuable obviously for European markets, but there is other larger markets outside of Europe where we already started to have like assets on our platform, where we see kind of a great match with what the industry is looking for.
Amazing, amazing. And just to wrap up, I mean, how would you summarize like the purpose that drives you forward with your company?
I think it's very much like I'm very passionate about like obviously building a business. That's maybe a good place to be as a founder, but like the energy transition. So I think if I look forward, I think obviously energy had been, electricity had been, I don't know, 20, 30 years back, a rather gray market, so kind of monopolies, kind of like you had like state-owned companies. And I think that is now breaking up. And I think it just gives so much opportunity, I think, to create a market where like everyone is able to participate. And you have a really kind of a social drive kind of to make that more sustainable. I think we come from a carbon market, nuclear market now, very much into kind of renewables and kind of like more sustainable energy. I think that just drives us ahead. So kind of also all the Pexans, so very passionate about the energy transition, and also just to, obviously that's a huge topic, but we just try to do our best with a small contribution to the market for the energy transition to happen faster.
Nice. Love that. So thanks everyone for listening. This has been Michael, category leader in Europe for Pexapark.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Thank you for having us here.
Nice.